the nations, Colombia, Venezuela, etc., there was always an alternative to those countries. Right now, I mean, the alternative is US dollars. Now, if this happens on a global scale, where is there to hide? What currency is there to hide in? There are none. There are only two monies, gold and silver. I think 2024 is going to be a kindergarten party compared to what happens in 2025. 2025, again, I believe there's going to be a failure to deliver. Once that happens, who knows where the prices can go.
The gold market witnessed historic milestones in 2024, with prices soaring unprecedentedly. According to one market strategist, 2025 could prove equally impactful as the world faces significant geopolitical and economic challenges. Gold reserves remain a vital financial asset for central banks and governments around the globe. These reserves play several critical roles, primarily serving as a tool for currency stabilization and offering security during economic turbulence. Financial expert Bill Holter has highlighted the recent collapse of fiat currencies, drawing attention to historical examples from countries like Argentina, Brazil, Zimbabwe, and Russia in the 1990s. Holter warns that if this crisis spread globally, there would be no haven, as no other currency would offer protection. According to him, gold and silver are the only valid forms of money. With the gold market holding strong above $2,600, prices have surged by more than 25% this year. In late November, gold prices peaked by over 30%, marking their best performance since 1979. Meanwhile, silver reached its highest point in October, surpassing $34 per ounce, driven by a changing post-pandemic landscape and escalating geopolitical tensions. Looking ahead, Holter believes that 2024 will seem like a kindergarten party compared to the event's 2025. He predicts that by 2025 there will be a failure to deliver, and once that happens, it's anyone's guess where the prices could go. Forget about charts, he says, and focus on counting your net worth in ounces of gold or silver. We're about to explore the video, but first, subscribe and hit the bell icon to keep up with our newest uploads. Your feedback in the comments is always appreciated.
What will happen is you basically get a deflation in everything that you own and a hyperinflation of the things you need, like food. If there's no credit, all of a sudden, an apple or a dozen eggs is, if you can find it, $10, $20, $100, $2,000, who knows? But the stuff that you have is going to deflate. Your stocks, your retirement plan, your real estate, all of that's going to deflate because if there's no credit that allows new buyers the ability to bid on those assets, the assets go with no bid and only offers, and they'll drive the prices, literally to being worthless. If there's no credit available, you're looking at assets being priced at pennies on the dollar.
Where has this happened before that you can kind of look to as a reference?
It's never happened on a grand scale, but certainly you've had governments that have been shut off from the credit markets, and what happens is their currencies hyperinflate. Look at Argentina. Look at Brazil. Look at Zimbabwe. Look at Russia in 1990. When countries are no longer able to borrow, then you get deflation of their assets, and the countries go into survival mode. The Weimar Republic was a different. That was different because it was done by basically call it printing alone. And back then, you had other currencies that were still tied to gold. There are no currencies anywhere on the planet tied to gold. And like I said in the past, when you looked at, the nations, Colombia, Venezuela, etc., there was always an alternative to those countries. Right now, the alternative is US dollars. Now, if this happens on a global scale, where is there to hide? What currency is there to hide in? There are none. There are only two monies, gold and silver, that you can hide in. And you're not going to be able to get gold or silver because once they fail to deliver, nobody's going to sell it for any currency of any amount until the system begins to reboot and we have currencies that are in fact, again, ratio backed by gold and silver. I think 2024 is going to be a kindergarten party compared to what happens in 2025. 2025, again, I believe there's going to be a failure to deliver. Once that happens, who knows where the prices can go? Forget about charts. You forget about everything. You're gonna, when all is said and done, count your net worth in ounces. And because this is it's a Western credit problem, and when credit breaks, you're going to see institution after institution fail in domino fashion. And I think the great taking will definitely be in place before the end of 2025. And like I said, people ask me, oh, well, give me a forecast. You can't forecast an Armageddon-like market. And you cannot do it mathematically either because, A, we don't know how much in dollar terms. A, we don't know how much gold the U.S. really has, and we don't know how much credit they're going to try to borrow, nor how much money supply they're going to print. So you don't have a numerator and you don't have a denominator. So you can't come up with a number. How much is each gold ounce worth that the U.S. government owns divided by the amount of credit that they owe? You can't do that math because you don't know the top or the bottom number for sure.
Not long ago, gold lost its shine. Following President Richard Nixon's decision to abandon the gold standard in 1971, the yellow metal fell out of favor with central banks, which shifted their reserves toward the U.S. dollar. During the 1980s and 1990s, gold's lackluster returns disillusioned investors and households. Enthusiasts of the metal, often called gold bugs, were dismissed as eccentric prophets of doom. However, gold has regained prominence recently, particularly among central banks. For some, their renewed interest stems from broader anxieties about the state of the world. For others, the focus is narrower. The reliance on the dollar, long seen as inconvenient and irksome, has now become a serious concern. Nations such as China, India, and Turkey have been enthusiastic buyers, with gold purchases accelerating notably in the spring of 2022. This surge followed Russia's invasion of Ukraine, after which America and its allies imposed crippling financial sanctions on Russia. The move underscored the potential risks of over-reliance on the dollar, prompting many countries to diversify their reserves with gold. Holter believes that the BRICS nations now hold far more gold than they did in previous years, and this trend is set to continue. He refers to the saying, "He who has the gold makes the rules," which he believes will come into play by 2025. Now let's redirect our attention to a video.
Along with the biggest debt problem, there's speculation. There's obviously speculation on the United States as to whether or not we hold the gold that we say we hold. There's speculation on other countries whether that their gold actually exists. I think there's very little speculation whether China or Russia or you could lump in India because they've been a big buyer. I mean, these countries, these central banks have been big buyers of gold now for 10, 15 years. And China has actually been grossly underreporting what they've bought. I mean, if you look at what has gone through Shanghai, and we know nothing's exported, so the gold goes into the country, but we know it never goes out. I mean, how many tons per year? You're looking at, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 tons per year going in. It's not coming out. We also know that China produces 450 tons a year, which never comes out of the country. So the West has a debt problem. It's speculative as to whether or not they actually hold the gold reserves they say, but the BRICS nations absolutely hold more gold than they did last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. They've been building their gold reserves higher. And the old saying, he who has the gold makes the rules, that's going to come into effect in 2025.
Like, what should be the game plan of an average person?
Make sure you have enough food for, I'm going to say, a minimum 3 to 6 months, preferably much, much longer. I mean, you need to be able to have a source of clean water. Without water, you're going to die. You need an energy source. People up north, in the northern hemisphere, people up north, how are you going to heat your homes? Do you have, if you do it with wood, how much wood have you prepared for? A week or two, a month or two, get you through the full winter? Who knows? You also need to be able to protect yourself. You need to be able to protect your position, because there's probably 9 plus people that have very little to nothing stored or a plan to survive this. And if you've got a father with little kids and a family that has no food, what are they going to do? They're going to go looking for food. And if you're one who has food, they're going to try to take it from you. So you need, lead is another precious metal.
The gold market witnessed historic milestones in 2024, with prices surging to record highs. Market strategists suggest that 2025 could be equally dynamic as the world faces heightened geopolitical and economic uncertainties. Key highlights of 2024 included soaring demand from Asian consumers, which significantly contributed to pushing gold prices to unprecedented levels early in the year. Do you think the 2024 surge in gold prices marks the beginning of a longer-term trend, or was it a short-lived rally? We value your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments. If you found this content valuable, please give it a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to stay informed. Thank you for being part of this journey with us.